Good afternoon. I am Douglas Kellner, and I'm calling to order first the meeting of the Board of Canvassers, and then we'll have the Commissioners of the State Board of Elections. I'm joined by Co-Chair Peter Kuczynski and Commissioners Andy Spano and Anthony Cassell. The first item on our agenda is the certification of election results from the November 7th, 2023 general election. Those have been distributed. I believe that the only offices we were responsible for were Supreme Court.
We have Supreme Court and two properties.
And the two properties.
Yes.
And the two properties. Okay, so are there any comments?
I'll make a motion to accept the report as submitted by the staff.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, none. So the results have been certified, and that concludes the agenda for the State Board of Canvassers. So going to the State Board of Elections, the first items are minutes for August 2nd, 2023 and September 6th, 2023. I note that the introductory line on the September 6th minutes has probably what was a typo.
What's it?
Oh, it's on the, I'm sorry, backwards. It's on the August 6th line.
Oh, there's a problem.
August 2nd line. It should say the meeting of the New York State Board of Elections.
I'd say. Gotcha.
Or it could say Commissioners of the New York State Board of Elections.
Okay.
Who is going to type this, and what should the exact text be, so we can adopt this?
I think it should mirror what's in September New York State Board of Elections.
Correct.
The Commissioners of the New York State Board of Elections.
Yeah.
That's the way it should read.
Yep.
So.
Okay. So with that revision, is there a motion to approve the minutes as revised for August 2nd? Second?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so the minutes are adopted, and who is actually going to do that revision?
We'll get the revision, and I'll take care of it.
Okay. All right, so then we turn to the unit updates. We'll start with our co-executive directors, Kristen Dabrowski-Stavisky and Ray Riley.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The co-executive directors worked with staff throughout the agency and coordinated with county boards and other state agencies on many issues since our September 6, 2023 board meeting. The November 7th general election was relatively quiet at the State Board. As was just mentioned, the contests were limited here to Supreme Court and statewide ballot propositions. As always, we supported the county boards with all issues related to their local races. The Secure Election Center coordinated with our federal, state, and local partners for daily security check-ins. These partnerships continue to grow and provide critical support in response for emergent situations. The biggest issues continue to be power outages related to poll sites, but all were resolved quickly and did not impact voting. On Election Day, as you may have heard, there was a lockdown at Mohawk Community College. There was first reported as a possible active shooter, and we did have a poll site there. So we immediately convened our meeting. Thankfully, it was a false alarm, but we worked directly with law enforcement and our partners, the local board, to address the situation. The United County Board took immediate action. They moved the poll site, and voting continued without interruption. And it was, as terrible as it was, thankfully it was a false alarm. It was nice to see that what we put in place did work, and we came together with our partners and we were able to address it quickly.
As you know, I live in that media market. By the time I got home for lunch, it was all over the TV. They did a great job. They scrolled the TV all afternoon, the local station up there. So
Yes.
they did a good job.
Yes.
Working with the media.
Absolutely, Commissioner. Online voter registration and automatic voter registration. As you know, we launched Phase 1 of online voter registration on May 31st, 2023. The New York City Board of Election worked on a parallel track and launched the same day. Since that date, we have had 13,463 New Yorkers utilize the online systems to register. We are carefully monitoring usage, and we are seeking to raise awareness so more residents can access the system. We are in the middle of planning for Phase 2 of online voter registration, which will bring enhancements and improvements, and we'll also connect it to our clearinghouse once we complete work with the New York State ITS on automatic voter registration. And also, as mentioned, we did partner with New York State ITS to implement automatic voter registration in the clearinghouse necessary to transfer the information efficiently between the state board, the county boards, and the AVR agencies. We have a regular meeting cadence with ITS. We finalized the project scope. The work is underway, and we are finalizing the timeline and continue to meet with all the AVR agencies, including the Department of Labor, the Department of Health, the New York City Housing Authority, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and the Office of Temporary Disability Assistance. The project schedule anticipates 2 phases. Phase 1 is expected to run through May 2024 and Phase 2 through August 2024. And as this project proceeds, the individual agencies will begin their internal projects with their ITS staff to enable automatic voter registration and to connect to our clearinghouse so that registration information may be communicated to and ingested by our county boards. We are also working on regulations for automatic voter registration to guide the agencies through this process. As you heard earlier in our Public Campaign Finance Board meeting, the software solution for the public matching program, which has now become an agency-wide software solution, the funding was approved by the Division of Budget. The contract was signed. It was approved by the Office of the Attorney General, and it is currently under final review with the State Comptroller. The funding was approved just before Thanksgiving, and once that review is complete, we'll onboard the vendor. And as you know, we did create a manual solution, and I'll just add my congratulations to the PCFB staff for doing really an amazing job on that software. Good news on space planning, finally. Construction on the south side of the 5th floor is expected to be completed by the end of this December. We continue our biweekly job meetings to coordinate with the vendors and with the Office of General Services. We expect the construction on this side to begin in early January once the staff is relocated. As you know, our budget, our full-time equivalent level has gone up to 210 with the PCFB employees, and we're at a critical point in the growth of our agency. We are thrilled to report that we'll be allocated a 2nd floor in this building. We expect to occupy the south side of that new floor in early January and shortly thereafter, the north side, as soon as that agency is able to vacate the space. That space is in good shape, although we may look to renovate maybe 2 years down the road because I think it's one of the only floors in this building that has not yet been renovated. But most importantly, it accommodates our agency's growth, it brings long-standing space issues to a close, and it accomplishes our primary goal, which I know is also a priority for the commissioners, that the agency remain together in one location. And as always, we do follow a complex calendar and deadlines. We'll ensure that operations are not impacted as we transition into this presidential year, and we will move space and staff as needed to make sure that the ballot access process is unfettered for the public. The website redesign project is nearly complete. We expect to go live, I believe, in February 2024. The PIO staff has done an amazing job, as has the project manager. As you know, our current website is difficult to navigate and home to thousands of PDF documents. And the data migration was not easy, but it was done quickly and expertly and managed seamlessly by PIO and our project manager. So I really congratulate them on that. We continue a biweekly meeting schedule with the Division of Budget and the Office of General Services. We continue to meet with enforcement biweekly and biweekly with the executive branch. We continue our monthly conference calls with the Election Commissioners Association. The last call was on November 30th. We're also continuing to work on training and guidance to make sure that we can provide the resources to the county board so that they have the tools they need to do their job efficiently. We recently issued guidance for early mail voting, and we will update our Canvas guidance to incorporate the early mail ballot process. We're looking forward to the January 2024 conference, and we are working with the program committee of the Election Commissioners Association to craft a robust training program. I would also mention that PIO, in conjunction with the rest of the units, executive, election operations, continue to work with the counties on FOIL requests and requests about the New York State voter registration database to make sure that we are countering mis and disinformation. And finally, we have begun development work for the State Board of Election Training Institute as established by Chapter 477 of the laws of 2023. It directs us to develop curriculum for certified poll worker training and train the trainer programs. And county boards will enroll at least 2 trainers in the program to become and maintain certified poll workers, and then we'll be able to train to meet the needs in their county. And the Institute will really enable us to develop a uniform statewide curriculum and make sure that all voters are having the same experience statewide. That is my report. I would turn it to my counterpart, Ray, to see if he has anything he'd like to add.
Not much. The only thing I'll say is that what we've certified in crossovers, many of the counties are still hard at work on some of their manual hand counts based on their elections. We continue to provide support and guidance to them as they, do the cleanup for 2023 and we get into 2024, which will be a very busy year for all of us. And we look to continue our relationship with counties to provide support as needed as they go into presidential.
What's your overall evaluation of the law that requires the manual hand count? Is the percentage, when you get these smaller areas, smaller elections, is the percentage so small that it's causing more than are necessary, you think? Or any, I guess the question is, any results, was there a major switch in any elections because of this?
No, there's very few changes. We are tracking all that information, and we're actually trying to look if we want to recommend maybe shifting the percentage.
And one of the things that we saw this year, which I think was somewhat new to this year, was there were a lot of contests that were either where the write-in won or it was a write-in only contest. And since you were dealing with a much smaller number of votes.
The sad state of affairs is in these smaller towns, people aren't even, no candidates on the ballot.
Correct.
In one place for highway superintendent, another one for town council. Looking at the results, my local results, I was amazed.
Yeah.
Right, so then when you're dealing with just a write-in only contest, you're ending with a lot smaller numbers, and so you're more likely to trigger the threshold for a hand count.
The only true contest I'll add to that is that, county committee races in general tend to be very small turnout. And so in a lot of jurisdictions, you end up doing a manual hand count for every single county committee race that was on the ballot because it is limited to one single election district. And that is obviously, when you're, very cumbersome for the counties. And in most cases, those numbers will be almost identical. And the margins will be, maybe not wide for a public office, but I think wide for a party position.
So are we going to get a report on the data? I mean, I believe that operations had promised a report from the 2022 election cycle, but I haven't seen that report or even the underlying data on it. And I think it would be useful, again, to have the data for 2023 in terms of just how many counts there are and what changes have occurred as a result of the account.
We can certainly put that together. Distribute.
Well, but that's what you said a year ago, too.
I thought we did send that.
I think we have some data, but I will go back and take a look. I know we collect the data from the counties for each of their manual hand counts.
There's a lot of money being wasted in these turnout situations in 10 days advance. I mean, as you go to polling stations and there's no one there. You have 4 or 5 workers sitting there, you go in and vote, and an hour later someone else comes in.
And they keep adding these mandates about you have to have one in the city and you have to have one here. I mean, it's...
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I having been a county executive and having had a pace of those things, it really bothers me. And somebody either has to work on turnout, so it's appropriate because you have the system there, or you have to look at some of the smaller areas especially and see if they get more flexibility on what they do and have, instead of spending all that money. I just bothers me every time I go to vote.
When the 4 of us appeared before the Senate a couple of years ago, we said one size doesn't fit all, give us flexibility, and
mean, it's just a waste of money in some places. And every race isn't going to have a controversy like Trump-Biden, you know, that pulls people out.
True.
I mean, just.
Well, I think we're in agreement on that.
You know, and you said you had no candidates?
No candidates.
We had one bullet candidate on the ballot, plus the judges, but, you know.
And if you have a special election where you anticipate the
Oh, well,
turnout
that's-
is only gonna be 15 or 20%, and you still have to fully staff the early voting.
It's a real problem.
Right.
So I guess we're looking for two sets of data then, one on early turnout and what the numbers are, in addition to this hand count data. So whatever you guys could put together on that would be helpful.
To look at the last couple of years of early voting plus
Sure.
election day, and compared to when it was election day only. Is there a major increase or not? Or is it the same people just voting at different times?
Yeah, I think that's what I think we're doing. We're just stretching out the same
Yeah.
route.
Yeah.
Okay. We will, manual hand count data and those reports.
Any other questions?
And if you can vote by absentee ballot anytime you want, by not being, if that, anything like that passes, it's gonna be another problem.
We will get that data together for you.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll, now turn for election operations, Amy Hild and Brendan Lodillo.
Thank you, Commissioner. We prepared the certification for the general election and each packet of certification documents and related information, which will be delivered to the appropriate entity. Staff was available to county boards for support throughout all hours of early voting and on election day. We continue to work with other units to coordinate state board communication with counties on post-election activities. Staff continues to conduct acceptance testing for counties, and we have scheduling through the end of January. Working with Civic Roundtable platform, and we have 61 counties currently participating on that platform. Working with counties to collect accessible ballot, cure manual recount, and 3% audit surveys, and assisting the county boards with their annual statistical surveys. We have been working with each of the voting registration systems on updates as they pertain to early mail ballots and redistricting. And we are continuing to work on regulations for VVSG 2.0. For our electronic poll books, we approved some de minimis changes to the electronic poll books for Knowing and 10X, and we're continuing to work with the vendors for updates to the systems to be ready for 2024. And we continue our work with IT and other units toward the development and implementation of OVR and AVR, and continue to work with IT and counties to monitor process for voter registration system migrations. Brendan?
I don't have anything to add other than I just want to say thank you to all the counties. We know how hard everyone has worked and is continuing to work with the hand counts and everything else for getting us all the information that we need to certify the races that we have here. And also thanks to the operations staff who has compiled all the information for the results and certifications and has all the letters and certificates all ready to go for the winners right now as well.
The only other thing I want to add on, because this kind of comes off of executive and operations and maybe even a little bit into council, is just recently this week we had the proclamation for the special election in the 3rd Congressional District. So that election has been set for February 13th. That impacts Nassau County and Queens. So we are working with those boards to kind of make sure that any redistricting changes that they need to do are done this weekend, is when we expect to start with that, just so that they're ready to go for their election cycle. And we will support them as we move forward with anything they need as well.
Go ahead, Peter.
Do we know how many boards are looking to buy new voting machines right now?
We have a number of counties are looking to upgrade current machines, same vendor. We also have some counties that are looking to going to a new vendor. I believe right now we actually have staff out, at the counties, this week, doing a couple county certifications, or acceptance testing of those machines. I wanna say, I don't know the specifics, but I think we at least have 7 or 8 that are in the hopper that we're going to be doing, in the coming weeks, and then going on into January.
Buying
as
new
well.
or upgrading?
It's a combination of
Combination.
some of them, depending on which vendor they have and which system they have, and some of the new systems work with some of the older machines, and some of the new vendors are just obviously a new.
I mean, are we anticipating most of our boards turning over their machines within the next couple of years, or what do you see the expectation of the,
Yeah.
you know, you do? Yes,
Well, they're
the
at,
answer is
yes, because they're really at the end of their life.
They really are, so.
Mhm. Yeah.
Pretty much everybody will have to either upgrade or buy new systems within the next couple of years. Is that the expectation?
Yes.
Okay.
And we do have a spreadsheet that we could certainly share, Commissioner, with.
That's okay, I'm just trying to get a general sense of what's going on out there. My
But
sense is that
I would be
sure.
interested in that spreadsheet.
Sure.
And do you communicate with verified voting that keeps this nationwide, chart of, election equipment that each county is using, so that they can update their chart?
I don't know if we have necessarily communicated with them. I do know that that's information that is tracked in the EVE survey. So every 2 years, we do have to state the vendor and equipment that's used for ballot marking, for scanning,
For each
in each of the
county?
counties, yes.
I would love for us to put that on our website, just like North Carolina does. I think I circulated that page, but, I know it's hard getting stuff on our website.
Right, as part of the process with, moving into the new, the website, we have been, moving towards revising some of the information as it pertains to, not just voting technology, but also the election systems that are in place in the different counties, so that we could add for the new equipment, for some of the existing vendors, add some of the new vendors, obviously add any kind of changes to the list of which counties are using what equipment, but we were also going to, add to that the information about the electronic poll books that are used in each of the different counties,
Right.
and the voter registration systems.
Commissioner, the new, website, the platform is much more agile, so it'll be a lot easier for us to do those updates.
Is there any money available for these counties to help with this migration to the new systems? I mean, does the state offer any financing, or the feds offer any financing, or is this all being done at the local level now?
No, there's actually, state funds, and some still have some federal funds, I believe, grant funds. But there's also, we, in our latest budget request, did also ask for additional money for electronic poll books, because those devices are basically, tablets, which have a much shorter lifespan. So we have been cognizant of that. They do have grant funds that they can utilize. Many have.
Yeah, so as Kristen was saying, so 2 of the 3 e-poll book systems that are used in the state of New York use iPads. And so iPads typically have a 5-year life cycle before the software doesn't really support the hardware. And so being that we started in 2019, we're good to kind of get through the 2024 cycle, but boards will have to start figuring out replacing some of their fleet of tablets.
5 years?
Yep.
Wow. That's it, huh?
Planned obsolescence.
Yeah. So these guys are gonna be upgrading this stuff every 5 years that are these tablets, I mean.
Tablets.
Right, the
Then
hardware.
voting machines, we give like a 10-year, 12-year life.
We've gotten more.
Some
We
not even that.
had a good run right now.
Yeah, some of them got a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the.
But that's it now, I mean, that's the new
The new normal, yeah.
world
Yeah.
we're in, where you have to upgrade that frequently now. Okay. I mean, that's just a big expenditure for these counties, that's all. I just wondered if we could help. It seems like the state should be helping them, because this is a big burden on them.
Yeah, they have. They've given, technology funds for that purpose.
Good.
We can always use more.
It was $5 million in the last budget, right?
No, it was, I believe it was 15 million.
15 million new, it's 35 million total.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, so, we'll turn to councils, Brian Quayle and Kevin.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We have approximately 10 active cases presently. And you'll note that on the agenda, we have a place at the end for a motion for executive session. I would ask the commissioners at that time to entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss pending litigation pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 105(1)D. But if there are any questions that should be entertained, in public about any of the pending cases, happy to do that. But let me now just transition into the work of the compliance unit. We have, since the last board meeting, there haven't been any deficiency referrals. I'm told by the compliance staff that a quarterly referral is actually slated to go tomorrow. In terms of compliance reviews, the unit's been very busy since the last meeting. 10,710 reviews were completed since the September meeting of the board. In terms of candidate matching, one of the most vexatious issues that compliance has had over the course of many years is identifying candidates at the local level who have likely filing obligations, but that we have not been able to identify and reach out to what I would call fulsomely or completely. Through significant effort over the course of the last few filings, the compliance unit has pretty much gotten that process down. There are a few wrinkles that still need to be worked out, but 7,475 candidates were uploaded into the system as a result of their efforts. 5,442 of those candidates matched existing FIDUS records, and those folks were identified and informed that they likely had filing obligations. And then there were 2,033 candidates for whom there were no records in our system, and those folks were also reached out to and said that they need to file something. In terms of registered candidates, that matching process, caused a tremendous flow of communications to the unit, such that since the last board meeting, 3,225 additional candidates were registered, and that included predominantly candidates filing exemption forms, but not entirely, and 139 new committees were registered in that time. The compliance unit completed 80 treasurer resignation reviews, and 558 committee and candidate records in due course were terminated. The compliance combined training unit, since the last meeting, has conducted 4 live webinars, 2 of them dealing with campaign finance topics generally, one of them a how-to tutorial on how to use the filing system, and then the ever-popular Winding Down the Campaign seminar, which is given at the end of every election cycle. 2 more of those webinars are scheduled, and thus far, in this tranche of training, 194 registrants participated in those last trainings just since the last board meeting. The unit also, the training unit, has been engaged in very in-depth training on campaign finance for new staff, and they've conducted approximately 7 training sessions for newly onboarded staff on the ins and the outs of campaign finance rules and requirements. The unit has received 750 emails into the general CF Info email account since the last meeting. And those are inquiries that range from anything from how to register to questions about substantive campaign finance issues, and those have all been contended with in due course. That would be the compliance report.
Anything else? Okay. So then we'll go to Enforcement Council, Michael Johnson.
I know it's based on conversations I've had with Brian and Kevin. there's an interest in our progress with regard to what we discussed at our last board meeting, which was the non-filer mass judgment test that we were going to be instituting, and also the Syrian election, hearing officer cases. The 25 non-filer test is a little bit more complex, so let me talk about that first. Initially, when I had mentioned we were only going to be doing 25 as a test, I know that seemed to bring up some sort of questions, well, why can't you do them all at once, and things like that. Given what we have found in terms of the process we're going through, there are obstacles in place that makes it impossible to do it all at once. And whether or not you agree, that's the truth. We started with 25, and I can explain it was real quick. What we did was we took the roughly 325 or however many it was of non-filers who didn't make their filings. We ran it through an Excel random cell generating formula to come up with the 25. What we would then do is look at those 25 and based upon whether or not the certified letters were actually received, and we look at the tracking numbers, they made it into that 25. If the first batch contained some that didn't get it, we put more back in. Ultimately, we got our 25 random committees as our sample. Now, we decided for purposes to make this quick, we filed electronically. And as you all know, the courts are going more toward electronic filing now. The electronic filing process, we had one attorney who did it. And we could only use one attorney because you can only do it under one attorney's profile. You can't have 2 and 3 attorneys doing it at the same time. So we had one attorney who did it. It took him 6 hours to enter all of that information into the court system. What we have found out in talking and working with the court is there is a process by which we could literally provide them with all of the information and they could input it for us. So there is a workaround on that. Our IT person and one of our special investigators are going to be taking an IT-related course to figure out exactly what we need to do on our end to make this happen, and then to work with the court system to say, okay, it can be done, for instance, like tax and finance with tax liens. So we would like to be able to do mass filings as well. So that can be done. The second obstacle is the contract dealing with the processor. That contract was first entered into prior to the existence of the division. It was entered into in 2013, I believe. Then it was renewed several times afterward. Once we started looking at the contract to utilize it for our purposes, a couple things cropped up. Number one, that contract, while it may have been adequate for whatever the board's needs were, back in 2013, it so does not meet the needs of what we want to do now. If you look at the contract, the dollar amount for the contract itself, initially it said not to exceed $50,000. The contract number actually is, because there were some mathematical computations that had to be done, the total amount is roughly $24,000. When you, and there's a built-in estimate usage of 58 cases a year, because it's literally $24,000 over the course of 5 years. If you factor into the cost of how they break it down based on the region, essentially the contract is not designed to serve more than an estimated 290 respondents over a 5-year period. So what we looked to do at that point because my feeling at that point was, you know, we can help sort of augment things by doing service ourselves. But the problem we run into with that, and I've pointed out to both co-executive directors, and I've pointed it out, and, you know, I've raised the issue at several board meetings. The use of force policy prevents us, the peace officers, from going out armed to deal with going and serving and things of that nature. I cannot and will not send people to do this type of work and put themselves at risk. That's the reality.
Break, Michael.
Well,
That is just outrageous.
oh, really?
How many process servers actually carry weapons when they go out and serve
Well, I
process?
can tell you
And
this.
certainly none of the law firms on my staff or the people in New York City who do most of the process server. And on the very rare occasion, all right, never mind. Your whole report, I'll let you finish your report, but it so upsets me that all we have are excuses after excuses after excuses for not doing the fundamental work that needs to get done to get people to sanction those who don't file their reports.
So if I say the contract only provides for service of 290 people over a 5-year period, and you've got well over 300, you say that is an excuse?
Yes. First of all, it's the first time that I'm hearing that that's the problem. Second is that...
Well, it's the first time that we have come up with the problem. So, I mean, you wouldn't have heard about it until we started doing this.
Well, there are other ways to solve this problem, but they don't get solved if every time there is a little bit of a hiccup, we say, gee, that means we can't do anything, and then...
Did I say that?
Well, go ahead.
Did I say that, Doug? I didn't say that. But I think we need to be clear here. That's not what I said.
Well, I don't see the commitment to get this done and to actually sanction people for not filing their reports. And if legislation is needed, write the legislation. I wrote a draft, but it didn't go anywhere because my colleagues didn't think that that was a way to go. But nobody else has written any other way of doing this. And but the problem is that...
I mean, just like at the earlier meeting, you talked about you wished we could do fine. The statute doesn't give us that authority to do so.
So let's write it into the statute.
And we're more than happy to work with Brian to come up with legislation. At one point, you said, well, come up with a regulation. That goes far beyond our authority in terms of doing a regulation.
Didn't we do the regulation?
We did a regulation that allows for the enforcement unit on non-filings to proceed directly to a Supreme Court proceeding, very much like the pre-2014 regime, without having to go through a hearing officer.
Right.
So essentially, it for failure to file, reinstates the status quo ante for 2014 with respect only to failure to file.
Right.
And
we also have a bill in.
And so you're saying, though, that notwithstanding that's not enough because it's too hard to file?
Well, we're putting that...
And it's too hard to get the Supreme Court to provide for alternative service. Now, Bill McCain's not here now, but Bill will remember very well, you weren't the counsel at that time, but I was urging him to change our proposed order to show cause to provide for simpler service procedures.
Well, if back in, 2009 or so, during the mortgage crisis is when the courts really started cracking down on the service. So as a result of that, that's why now the process is much more difficult. And as far as, you know, the service is concerned in terms of what the process.
See, I wish we could
service has to go
engage in this privately, because
through. I'm more than
I don't wanna-
happy, I'm more than
Well, but
happy
you-
to engage privately with you, Doug, instead of you sitting here thinking I'm making up excuses, because it's not.
Well,
what I'm doing.
I certainly believe that that's the case. You haven't contacted me, you didn't give me a heads up that your report would be that, gee, we haven't really been able to start any Supreme Court cases.
Well, that's not what I've said. We just heard from the process server today that they have finally completed service of those 25 actions that we started. So that's been completed. Now, based on the contract itself, there's actually, for whatever reason, and again, I don't know why, there's a 2-week period built in before they even have to begin taking action in making service. So there's a 2-week window right there that nothing gets done.
Michael, who's the contract with?
It's, nationwide.
No, I mean, is it with us at the Board of Elections? Is it our contract, a
Yes.
Board of Elections contract?
It's
It's something
Board of-
we entered into
Yes.
at some point. Who entered into this?
Well, let's see, 2013, it would have been signed by the two then co-executive directors.
Okay.
Which would
So
have
we
been-
can do a new contract, right? We don't,
I guess.
Can we let him finish his report?
yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you.
And let
I'm
him
sorry.
finish his report, get the
As
context,
far as
and
the
then have the
contract is
questions.
concerned, and we have been diligent in seeing if there's any issues or any instances where there's a possible ability to say the process service has violated the contract. So far, that's not happened. The only thing right now for us is, as we do more and more cases, we're going to come upon that dollar amount threshold very soon, much quicker than the 5 years. At that point, that gives us the ability to not renew the contract, but negotiate a whole new contract, because it's much easier to negotiate a new contract for better terms that work for us, as opposed to just renewing what's already there, and we know now it doesn't work.
I'm sorry, Andy, in all due deference, couldn't we get a second process server? If one is not sufficient, couldn't we go out and solicit another service, process service vendor
talking
that
about-
we could then use beyond, in addition to this one, if this one isn't sufficient?
I would reach out to OGS, and there are a couple of things that, one thing
That's a rhetorical question, Mike. I think we could.
Yeah.
I don't know why we don't. If this
Because
wasn't
what I would
sufficient,
like
my
to do-
suggestion is go find another one that is.
What I would like to do is get a process server, because this one, they're located in Ronkonkoma. So if there are things that need to be served up in Buffalo, they have to find someone who would take that piecemeal and do it for them. What I would like to work out with OGS, if we could figure out, like, regionally, different process servers, but then that requires, okay, based on the work that we are looking to do, is that dollar amount threshold high enough for someone to take on the work? But
No, I know.
you raise a great point, I'm more than willing to, because that was something that we had talked about doing once we try to, burn down this contract in terms of what it's worth, looking for more than just one vendor. Because, for instance, this particular vendor is also used by the Attorney General's office. However, I can assure you, their contract terms are probably a whole lot different than what we have, and they use more than just one vendor. They use multiple vendors.
They probably do. And I was gonna say that too. Yeah, that the sheriffs are required to serve process.
The sheriffs in New York State can.
Well, I think the concern we have, Michael, the information I have is we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,600 failures to file for July that still are outstanding. You apparently are now pursuing 25 of those. I guess the concern, and I share Commissioner Kellner's concern, is that means there's over 1,600 sitting there not being pursued. And under what you're describing, they're not going to be pursued.
No.
At least in the near future. Let me just finish.
Go ahead.
Let me finish. So, our concern is that there's still a huge number of failures of file just sitting unaddressed. We were frustrated with the previous council not doing anything. You're at least doing something, but 25 out of 1,660, or whatever the number is very, very tiny. And we just feel there's a frustration here that we're not pursuing more. I, as you know, have a frustration and a concern about the selective enforcement, some of which I've seen here, and that I think this goes into that again, where 25 are now going to get pursued, but 1,600 are not. Why 25? Why are we picking 25 out even? Why not all 1,600? You're trying to describe that, but it seems to me the goal has to be 1,600. Everybody's got to get pursued in the same way. I think it's very unfair to pick out 25 just arbitrarily and say, we're going to go after you, but we're going to leave the other 1,600 untouched, because that smacks of selective prosecution to me, which I think is a very bad process to use.
Well,
so I think there's a lot of frustration here on this, and we're looking for solutions.
I never said that we were not going to pursue.
That's why I want him to finish his report.
I know, but I'd like to get to the point here at some point, too.
I never said that I was not going to pursue the rest of it. What I'm simply saying is, we have realized the shortcomings that exist, that currently exist in working with the court system to come up with the ability to utilize their process to do bulk downloads so we could get all 1,600 in at one time, as opposed to doing, 5 at a time. And that shouldn't be a problem, like I said, since it's done for tax liens. If we can do that, that's great. As far as getting this process, getting it served, great. Tony, you raised the issue about using sheriff's offices. One of the concerns, because we thought about that as an issue. One of the concerns, however real it is you're using a sheriff, an elected official, to, enforce or to serve papers. Now, is that how we should do it? I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that yet. But
I'm just trying to be helpful here in terms of
of course,
efficiency.
Right.
Because the sheriff in every county of the state, he's a constitutional officer, regardless of party affiliation, and the sheriff doesn't serve it. They have a deputy that goes out and does it.
Right, exactly.
They have a civil division.
Right.
And
now,
most of the attorneys upstate use the sheriff, because then they have to pay the sheriff for it.
Right. Now, is that an option? It very well might be, but that's yet another option that we need to and will explore. We will examine.
Right.
It would be great if we could do that, because if we could do something along those lines, we wouldn't necessarily have to worry and depend so much on the process.
And you clarify one thing, you said that under the e-filing the state uses, only one attorney is allowed to file in each court?
No.
I'm sorry.
At a time on this matter here, it's not like me and the other attorneys upstairs can all sit and do this. It has to be done under one person.
Per court?
For filing. So, right.
So, if we
Or
could,
you're filing multiple cases under one filing?
yes.
Okay.
So if we could,
I hear you.
so that's why I can't have, if I could have 3 attorneys or 4 attorneys sitting in computers all doing it at the same time, that's one thing, but I can't do that.
Well, you could do 4 cases.
Why couldn't you, is it because you have each one has a separate account or something? I don't understand.
I'm very familiar with the e-filing system. I use it every day. And there are lots of workarounds for it, and but if you just call and talk with us about it, then we could communicate on this, and we wouldn't be in the situation where your report is all negative, and I feel like we are not moving forward in the goal, just as Commissioner Kosinski stated, which is, it's a very simple goal. I don't care if the fine is $25 or $100. I want there to be a fine when somebody is late with their filing. If they don't file at all, it should be greater. Now, the legislature put in this provision that you can get a $10,000 fine for not filing, and, okay, a $10,000 fine, that should be hard to collect. But, we are in a position where we could propose draft legislation to change it. We came up with the solution to change the regulation, but obviously it's not a solution if the Enforcement Council isn't going to sit there and file all these cases and do these orders to show cause. An order to show cause, we propose to the court what the provision for service is. And most of the time, the judges do it. And that's what Bill McCann learned when I had the same criticism 15 years ago, or 10 years ago. We don't need a personal process server to show up at somebody's door in order to collect a $250 fine. That should be sufficient to send it to them at the last known mailing address. Now, by the way, after Risa was appointed, when we adopted the regulations for the hearing officer, I had proposed at that time a simpler, less complicated service process, but I lost that in that amendment.
Well, I would like to.
But I don't see anybody taking a comprehensive view of saying, this is how we're going to do it. If we need new legislation, then let's write it up in a report and give it to the legislature and say, this is the legislation we need. But these litigation filing excuses, I just don't buy it now, months after we changed the regulation to allow for this process. And I wish, all right, I'm just going on and it's not productive, because it is just criticism. And without having a dialogue and details, it's hard to make it constructive criticism. But just saying it's too hard, you know, if an associate comes into my office and says, this is too hard, but I have no solutions for it, then that's not somebody who's going to stay long at my law firm.
You know, the way I see this is that, but I'm not the lawyer, that he's got some questions about how he operates and what he operates with. And you certainly have passion for making sure you're getting this done, and I do too. But if we examine what he's saying, what you're saying, and we put together maybe 3 people, 2 staff members and him, and go over all this stuff, and let them figure this out based on this and based on your comments, come back to the board with a suggestion on how to do this for the next meeting, that might be helpful.
I agree. And to have some communication and back and forth so that there's a mutual commitment to get this done and not just show up at the meeting and say, it was too hard to pull.
Well, and I'm not, I'd like to assume that you're both right.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And
I agree.
Just as, you know, because, there's no point in continuing.
No, but is that okay with you?
No, you're absolutely right, and that's what I would like, because, you know, when you're saying I'm not coming up with solutions, I've pointed out issues that we've come up with regard to the contract. They don't seem to be real to you. So
well, it would have been a lot better, Michael, if when you hit that barrier, you sent an email and said, you know, we've got this problem. Do you have any ideas on how to work around it?
That's what we're doing now. We're coming up with workarounds, but obviously for you, they're not good enough. Why? Because I didn't talk to you first.
But we have an agreement on putting this group together to solve this, to try to solve this problem. Is that something you can?
I guess, I don't know that we need a group personally. I think there are options here, like getting another process server, like using I think there are things in place right now. I don't know what we need a group to do exactly, but I'm not against a group. But I'm just saying, I think the idea here is there are solutions available. I mean, the reality is here, this is Michael's obligation now. It's been removed from us. We no longer really have, we're just asking questions. We no longer have any control over this other than to ask questions and make suggestions. And that's too bad, I think, but that's the way it is. So really, it's up to Mike Johnson to decide how he's gonna handle it, what he's gonna do. Am I frustrated with where we are today? Absolutely. Do I think there's solutions? Absolutely. Does Michael wanna take them on? I don't know. We'll find out. Do we want to have a group talk to him again? I don't know. I know that the executive directors have talked to him as well, because I've raised it with them offline. I know it's come up, and that's great, and I think that's terrific, but.
We do have a procurement, a regular session with the Office of General Services, and we can certainly explore with them other process server options.
Is that something you'd be open to, Mike?
Absolutely, because like I've said previously,
Were you aware of this before?
Last week.
And, you know, she became aware of it, Ray became aware of it last week, I became aware of it. We find out these problems as we start this process. This contract, like I said, was in place well before I got here to do this job. The shortcomings that we're finding out now, I didn't know about. It's as simple as that. I mean, to the extent that this contract was used previously, I don't know. I mean, these shortcomings that we're facing in this contract now, you commissioners were here when the contract was signed. I'm sure you weren't aware of the shortcomings. How could you?
Well, I wasn't here, and I don't know if Mr. Cassell was here either, frankly. No, I wasn't here. I wasn't here, so.
Oh, that's right, you
That's
were.
not my point, though. It's not my point whether I was here. My point is, these are problems with.
But I was, and when it came up, I said to Bill McCann, change the service provision in the order to show cause that you submit to the court. And he did, and the court agreed to, service by mail, and that was fine.
Problem solved. I see. Okay. Well, there's another suggestion then. Maybe the courts are willing to take a different, service provision, which courts do, in their order to show cause. It doesn't require personal service. It doesn't require a process server that has a mail and nail or whatever you're doing to try to address this problem. But I think there are solutions. I'm assuming there are solutions.
Oh, there are solutions.
That don't necessitate a new contract.
It may
but
not.
may have a different option to it.
And what
But I'm just frustrated to see that we're only pursuing 25. That really concerned me, no question, because it really went to this selective enforcement problem I've been raising for some time. And I think when you pick out 25 out of 1,600, it just smacks of,
it wasn't.
how'd I get to 25 here?
It wasn't.
And no plan to get to 1,600.
Not really.
No plan.
So that's a concern to me. Yes, so I want everybody, I'm with Commissioner Kellner, I want everybody pursued. It's been how many years? When did RISA come in? 2015. We haven't had anybody pursued now for 8 years. Nobody. 8 years of this. It's gone on. It's unbelievable to me, and yet that's the situation we're in. Now we're finally talking about it seriously, and that's great. But we need to move on it because for 8 years people have gotten away with this, and this is wrong, and it needs to be changed. It needs to be changed ASAP.
When we ran our selections, you're saying 1,600. When we pulled the non-filers, it was 3, whatever that number was. What I'm hoping now is we can work with the court system so we can enter all this stuff in bulk. Right now, today, we don't have the ability to do that.
Right, but if you can only enter 50, and I know you can enter 50 because in my firm, we just did it a week ago, then do 50 for each order to show cause.
Well, now that we've heard from the process server, they've completed that first 25, next week we begin more. As simple as that. You're making it sound as though I said 25 and we're stopping. That's not the case. So I don't know what you hear. I know what I...
All I know is what I've gotten.
Right.
And I got the 25 from you a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
And it was told to me these are who we're going to pursue.
Right.
And this is it. That's all I know. And I've seen nothing since. So that's all I know. I've seen nothing in the last when did you send it to me? 3 weeks ago? this list of 25? And I've seen nothing since, that's all I know.
And now that we know where the process servers are, and like I said, we just found out they've completed their service, so now we can move forward to doing more. As simple as that.
Well, I will say to you, Michael, 25 at a clip, it's gonna take a long time
And that's why
to do
I will-
1,600 files.
I know.
Wait,
that's what-
no, I want to get.
And that's why I
But
will repeat again.
I'm not defending him, okay? I know. But here's what I heard. I heard that he's got a number of problems that he perceives.
Right.
That he presented them to us, okay? You have offered solutions to this. If he can work this thing out with the court, you can do the 1,000 in one shot.
Exactly.
Okay?
Thank you.
Without data entering them, you can
We
just
just
do whatever the
basically
process.
hand them.
In order to do that, you have to have your people trained or have this discussion with the courts.
I need to, number one, have my IT person figure out what is it we need. He figures out what we need, then we talk to the court. This should be a real short, quick, dirty
And then if you
process.
get that information, you can do the 1,000
Then
in
we
one
can
shot.
do the bulk download to the courts.
And then you have the process problem after that?
But once we get this file with the court, then we can deal with that. That's only secondary. Maybe the process service, Commissioner Casal just throughout the sheriff's office. That's another one. That's something we had also thought about. So there are other things that we're looking at.
Can you do both of them simultaneously?
Once in working with the courts, what we can also do is I will reach out to certain contacts I have with regard to different sheriff's departments to say, hey, how can we engage your civil division in order to do service for us? What's that cost? If that's something you're willing to do, okay, fine. If it's something you're not willing to do, then we'll have to look at another option. As simple as that.
Can you, when you have your discussions with purchase or budget or whoever you talk about this too?
Sure.
Can you bring everything back to the next meeting?
I can certainly tell you where we are at the next.
I think Mr. Johnson has the message. He can move on.
Yeah, well, and you see, the problem is, I had the message a long time ago, which is why I'm taking the steps that some people seem to understand I'm taking, others don't. I can't do anything about that.
Michael,
Yes,
what happens last? Don't worry about it.
I know.
Anything else? All right, then we'll move to, public information. Kathleen McGrath and Jennifer Wilson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Starting off with our general public information functions, you may recall on the same date of our last board meeting, we launched our new FOIL platform, GovQA. It's been a great centralized platform. It's been very easy to use. It streamlines the process amazingly. Since in September, we received and completed 94 FOIL requests. In October, 152. In November, 133, completing all but one of them so far. And in December through this morning, we've received 28, and 20 of those are already completed. So as totals from the previous board meeting, receiving 407 FOIL requests, completing the work on 398 of them. In terms of the State Board website, since the previous board meeting, we've published a number of updates to the site, including the June primary certification, voter registration deadlines and early voting information prior to the general. We had our updated November 1st enrollment data, 2024 presidential primary documents, updated compliance training schedules, updated board meeting information and documents for today. We have worked with IT staff to ensure that election night reporting site was deployed properly and voter lookup was updated. To Kristen's point earlier, when Oneida County had the poll site change, we worked with IT to make sure that that was redirected properly through voter lookup. As has been mentioned a few times, we're working on a website refresh. We continue to work with ITS on that every day. It is a major overhaul of the website focused on the user experience and the ease of information access. We continue to demo the new website for unit heads and make updates as needed, and we remain on track for a launch in January 2024. In addition to the main website, PIO has been working with IT in terms of design, test, and testing to move the 1-800-4VOTE and NVRA Oracle applications into their new applications, and actually the NVRA application just launched this morning. PIO has also been involved in the work with Savera, which will be our new election results application on the new site. In terms of staff updates in the unit, since our last meeting, we have backfilled 2 vacancies within PIO. We welcome Dawn Metzler as our new special projects coordinator, and she wins the trophy as the Nice Voter Guru in our unit. She comes to us from the Greene County Board of Elections. We also welcome Dan Toomey as our new NVRA coordinator. He's been at the board for a number of years, but previously in election operations. Both are doing a great job, and PIO is now fully staffed. Now with Dawn starting too, we've had a lot of county board outreach prior to Election Day. We worked with the county boards to ensure early voting locations and Election Day poll sites were properly updated. We collected early voting turnout numbers from them throughout the period. And since Election Day, we've continued to work with them to gather their results and absentee and affidavits. Visits to county boards, in-person visits, will resume soon. And in terms of NVRA, with Dan coming on board, since our last meeting, staff has conducted an NVRA agency training for the state's Department of State, starting that transition from Mike Machete to Dan Toomey, and more agency trainings will be scheduled soon. In terms of ballot propositions, the statewide ballot props, we did work with the New York Press Service to get the 2 statewide ballot props placed in newspapers throughout the state prior to Election Day as required. And in terms of annual reports, I'm pleased to announce to you today that after a bit of a delay, the 2020 annual report has been finalized and is posted to the state board's website. And I believe the 4 of you have copies in hand right now. The 2021 annual report is almost done too and should be going up soon. So despite delays prior to my tenure, we are working to get those finalized and posted. In terms of public outreach, under traditional media, we've issued no press releases since the last board meeting. However, we did amplify the Oneida County Board's press release on Election Day. Immediately following the last board meeting, we responded to continued inquiries about the impersonation of county board officials, press release that we had done just prior, including doing TV and radio interviews, and we continue to get inquiries and respond to them about combating that spread of misinformation that I'll talk about in just a moment as well. The other inquiries received from the media since last board meeting are endless in terms of a wide variety of issues, including voter registration, poll workers, party enrollment figures, candidates, early voting turnout, ballot propositions, absentee, election results, campaign finance, special election procedures, early mail-in voting that goes into effect in January, and next year's presidential primary ballot access. Additionally, we have received media inquiries about election offices in other states that have received suspicious mail, including some that contain fentanyl. We have fortunately not received any in this state, but we have enacted enhanced mail security procedures and practices in the office as a safeguard against that. As for social media, I mentioned at last board meeting that we initiated our Fun Fact Friday series. That is continuing on. It's an opportunity to share important factual little factoids to our followers with the hopes of dispelling misinformation that's out there. Topics covered since our last meeting include pre-registration and registration, updating your voter record, accessible absentee voting, military and overseas voting, and the importance of local election years. We have accounts on 3 different social media platforms, X or Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Since our last board meeting, we've published 20 original posts to all of those. We've also shared 3 on X. In addition to our Fun Fact Fridays, these are posts about National Voter Registration Day, that was in September, important deadlines for voter registration and absentee ballots, and information about early voting, Election Day, and returning absentee ballots. On Twitter, our follower count has remained steady since the last board meeting. On Facebook, we've actually increased 243 followers since the last board meeting, putting us over 4,000 followers. And we do regularly see county boards and other election-related groups sharing our content. So actually, since the last board meeting, we've had almost 53,000 impressions on Facebook where our content is being disseminated. Instagram, we've added 47 followers since the last board meeting, and that content is directly copied from Facebook. In October, we drafted and adopted a social media policy for the state board, clarifying account access, safeguards for security, and standards for content of anything that we're putting out from the board. And we've communicated to the county boards that policy and recommended that they adopt the same or similar. We also are about to embark on what we're calling Trusted Info 2024, the campaign that was launched by the National Association of Secretaries of State. We plan to launch the social media campaign piggybacking off that, where we will work to dispel mis- and disinformation while simultaneously providing factual info to New Yorkers. We actually have a series coming up shortly called 10 Days of Election Security, in which each day will provide a fact of how lists are maintained and elections are safe and secure in this state. In terms of our blast email service, our contact list for folks signing up for our emails has grown over 109% since our last board meeting, and we've sent out 4 blast emails since then, one about National Voter Registration Day, some general election reminders, early voting information, and announcing today's board meeting. The last thing I want to cover in my section before handing it over to Jen is actually about mis- and disinformation and New York Citizens Audit, as this has been a priority of mine since coming into the role. You may recall from the last board meeting, New York Citizens Audit released its report regarding the 2022 general election just before last board meeting, and we had discussed at the time that we were drafting our response to that. We did issue that response, sending it to the county boards, combating some of their claims in October. Kristen had sent an original response to their previous report in April. And then, as was recommended at last board meeting, we issued a letter to 7 state-level associations last month and provided them with copies of the 2 earlier letters to the county boards, provided them a copy of a PolitiFact investigation, that's the fact-checking website, which ruled that one of their central claims is false, and we encourage these associations to share information with their members. This group continues to travel the state to present to local elected officials and encourage them to sign a resolution demanding an outside group conduct a full audit of the 2022 election. Unfortunately, some have signed on to this resolution after only being presented with the group's claims, which on their own are attention-grabbing and salacious. However, their claims are woefully inaccurate, and I want to state that today, as they present the same stories across the state. As an example, one volunteer has told the same story in multiple counties about appearing in the NICE voter database 4 times, and it's simply not true. The group does not seem to understand how voter registration works in the state and how records are updated. As far as we know, Citizens Audit has no one on its team that's ever worked in NICE voter on the state or county level. It is an intricate database with constantly moving parts and involves a human process. It's presumptuous to believe that someone without experience in the database could fully analyze its contents. Additionally, as they presented across the state, I've noticed their group's rhetoric is getting more and more troubling. They're using terms like coming after us. They're calling folks that certify elections criminals and treasonous. So I take this very seriously. I think it's important to note that the work of county boards, echoing what was said earlier, what they do every day is tireless and appreciated, and any claims about manipulation or conspiracy or fraud are not only false, but they're disheartening, they're frustrating, they're dangerous, and they're nauseating. And so this will be a top priority of mine. As we enter 2024, we have 4 elections so far between the special, primary, June, and November, and it's important that voters in New York understand true information from real election officials rather than a fringe group. And that's my report. Oh, well, I have to pass it over to Jen for grants update.
I'm sorry, before I...
Yes.
So let's just talk a little bit. So what name of this group is what again?
New York Citizens Audit.
Okay. So they're still meeting with local, like, county legislators, people like that,
Town
right?
boards, things like that.
Town boards, and they're convincing some. So, have you ever met with with this group?
No.
itself? Have they ever asked to meet with us to discuss their concerns?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Do you think it would be productive for us to do that, to try to discuss with them their concerns and our response? I'd
be willing to address any concerns that are grounded in reality. So much of what they put out there is...
But would it be worthwhile to discuss with them, if our opinion is it's not grounded in reality, why we think it's not grounded in reality? I mean, to try to So instead of addressing this through the boards they're meeting with, why don't we try to address it with the group that's meeting?
To engage.
Why don't we just sit down with them and say, what you're saying is wrong and here's why, rather than trying to convince every county legislature in this state, these people don't know what they're talking about, here's the facts. Why don't we try to just meet with them directly?
So, we've issued a number of reports, which they've obviously picked up on, which have addressed many of their concerns on a case-by-case basis. And their response to that have generally been to not either acknowledge what we're saying or to say that what we're saying is not accurate, or in some cases to say that there's a higher power at work that's even above us that's playing with the database and making changes and all sorts of algorithms that we may or may not be aware of. I believe that, you know, the job of this agency is to put forth truthful information. I think that trying to engage with people who at best are misinformed, but in many cases maybe willfully misconstruing the truth for their own gains, I don't think does anything but give them a further platform to say, oh, well, we met with the state board and we told them everything. That being said, I'm open to a discussion about it, but we've responded with specific examples. We've published those specific examples, you know, saying this is where we got it wrong. And we haven't seen any indication that says, okay, well, you know, they've acknowledged that we published this, and okay, well, we're going to pull this claim down now. The rhetoric has increased based on our attempts to address the facts of the claims, not decreased. Again, I just want to echo some of the claims about treasonous and coming after members of the staff. It's dangerous, it's inappropriate, and it does nothing but undermine the election process.
Agreed.
I would just add also that some of the local commissioners have attempted to engage.
Absolutely.
And it has not gone well.
I was gonna say, the fact that they haven't asked for a meeting is a good indication.
Well, and to Ray's point too, I'm happy to sit down and have a conversation about facts with anyone who's interested in learning the truth. I think the biggest problem is some of these folks, I don't want to paint too broad of a brush, but the ones that are going around the state, they don't seem to want to know the truth. They are convinced what they know is the truth, and we're covering it up.
Yeah, and I think, you know, on numerous occasions, there's been there's data that they claim. And this, you know, there's been a public call for them to publicly release their data so it could be independently looked at to see how they drew their conclusions. And in a recent presentation in a county, they essentially said there would be no reason for us to do that. Our data is not manipulated, it's all fine, but they still haven't released it. So it's, you know, if you know, our data is public, right? We release it in FOIA requests to anybody that asks for it. Our voter database is public, and we provide the information. So if there are allegations that are being made, the people making those allegations should provide the work that's being done to provide those claims and not just make the claims without the supporting data. If the supporting data was provided, I think everybody at this table would be willing and eager to do an analysis of that.
So what's the motive here?
I think, I'm not inside their head, but I would opine that they have a vested interest in reducing trust in elections.
To what end?
Well, I mean, based on what they actually say, they believe that there is a conspiracy, a grand conspiracy, using things called algorithms to manipulate the voter rolls and to have essentially phantom voters vote. They've ignored the fact that the voter registration system and the election machines do not talk to each other. And largely, this is driven by a desire to essentially assert a thesis that it is impossible that people have actually voted the way they have voted. And so therefore, there are powerful forces at work in our society that are manipulating election results. These people are fringe crazy.
Mm-hmm. And the claims I've read are that they believe more people voted in the last election than are registered to vote in the state of New York. I mean, that was one of the assertions I saw, which is they just sort of a statistical analysis that we had, I guess, 22 million people vote and there's only 18 million people registered. That's not the number, but you know, there's this like assertion. There's this assertion that more people voted than actually registered.
We are doing that to somehow affect election results.
Right.
But it's because they, just in general, not to go into the weeds too much, I don't believe they understand how purged voter records work. Mm-hmm. And that the history...
So do you think it's a lack of understanding or it's a willful misrepresentation?
I would say yes to both of those things.
Refusal to understand. They don't want to be confused
I
with
mean,
that.
the claim that there were more votes in 2022 than registered voters in the state of New York could be dispelled with a simple use of Google in about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that is not hard data to find.
Yeah.
Turnout numbers are published, the number of registered voters are active on our website. You know, that is easy information to find. So making a claim like that, you know, it's.
But you're saying they're
For us.
getting traction in some of the local elected officials to actually sign on to their assertions. So it's concerning that, I mean, you're representing them to be fringe and have no basis in fact, and yet apparently some local elected officials are accepting what they're presenting to them as fact and believing them. So I'm just I'm trying to understand how we
That's the
combat
frustration,
that.
right there.
So, I think to add to that is that,
You
I think that was.
some local officials.
I think part of, no, I apologize, Commissioner. I think part of the reason, you know, we got, the letter to the state associations went out about a week ago,
The 28th of November.
so I think the objective to try to combat a lot of that was the letter to the local associations to use that as an avenue, I think it was Commissioner Fitzal's suggestion at the last meeting, to get out ahead of the organizations. You know, if you present information to a group and they only have one side of the information and it's, you know, and it sounds, you know, like potentially plausible or compelling or salacious.
Well, but don't, I mean, so you're saying that when the locals hear this, they don't go to their county board of elections and say, hey, we had a group in today that just said ABC. Is there any validity to this? And they allow their county board of elections to actually, but they don't do this?
I would say that my understanding is that those that have voted to adopt the resolution have not necessarily given boards an opportunity to combat the information, and they've acted at that individual meeting.
Yeah.
Which was part of the reason why we sent the letter to the state associations to say, you may hear from this group, here's our position ahead of time. You know, if you have questions, if they come, if you want to get, you know, you can feel free to reach out to us or your local county board, and we're happy to have a conversation.
So do you have a document or something that shows you the list of issues that are being raised at each one of these local meetings, and it's like 3 issues or 5? Do you know the universe of issues?
Yeah, based on the 2020 general election report and the 2022 general election, and that they really do somewhat present identical presentations. I've watched countless of the YouTube videos of these.
Okay, so beyond the fact that they're asserting more people voted than are registered, what other facts are they alleging?
There's a volunteer that claims she's a NICE voter 4 times, and again, in about 4 seconds, I was able to see that that's not true.
Okay, so that's two claims. What else do they claim?
There's folks that talk about, truly, as to Brian's point, the algorithms and I mean, it's very almost science fiction-y of what they're getting at. And it's almost like I would opine, trying to talk higher than someone's understanding, so it sounds intimidating. Okay. And the resolution in itself is calling for a full outside audit of a general election. That sentence on its own isn't that bad. Oh, yeah, we can support that. Anyone can get behind it. But the grounds for which they are basing that resolution on
They're also asserting that certain voters are the same person.
Yep.
They don't have the same name, they don't have the same middle initial. You know, they're common last names, and
So they have specific examples of voters they think...
They have, in certain counties, they have provided certain list of examples.
From that county?
From that county, and in some cases, that information has been trickled up to us, and our cursory overview of that, you know, they claim that voters were the same person. Some of the voters didn't have the same first name, some of the voters didn't have the same last name. Right? None of the voters lived in the same county, you know, it was just, you know, they're claiming that because someone has a similar name and a date of birth, that they must be the same person. You know, one of their other central claims, which, you know, we had talked about in the letter was, you know, dates of birth and a simple misunderstanding of how a registration of voters progressed in this state from the 70s on up, when once upon a time, all you had to do was confirm that you were over the age of 18. And many voters, when they filled out those registration forms, would just put 18 plus. They would just put 21 plus, right? They wouldn't list out their birthday because certain people were uncomfortable sharing their exact age on a form. And when the counties transferred over to a voter registration database, right, and they were registering those people by law, which they had to, they would use a dummy date as a date of birth because the system was requiring it, but the voter wasn't required to provide that date of birth when they registered at the time. And so again, just a not complete understanding of how elections have come to be in the state of New York and how registration systems have come to be in the state of New York, and using that well, this looks scary, right? This looks like it can't be, and then turning that into that there's something terrible going on behind the scenes.
Another example is if someone was registered on a state holiday, well, they may have pre-registered and that's their birthday, so it turns over on the date of their registration. There's not someone sitting in an office, you know, alone, manipulating voter registration.
And again, these are some of the ones that we've been able to address because they're high-level claims. You know, they're making a lot of specific claims about voter rolls and all these things, but we haven't, it's very difficult to engage in a conversation combating, you know, information that they're providing when they haven't provided the backup data that they've drawn their conclusions
Right.
from.
And I think we spend a lot of time on this.
Yeah.
And the more time attention we give to it, the more they will claim credibility, because we're concerned. If we just dismiss it out of hand is what it is.
Well, I think the letters that they wrote, that Ray and Kristen wrote last week were very good.
Excellent.
They addressed the issues. They did not exaggerate. They did not pretend that we're flawless. But they laid it out very well. And I think that that's what we should continue to do. And Peter, I agree that if there's an appropriate time to engage, we should not, I think it's bad public policy to freeze out somebody just because they're French. And, you know, I mean, we've had to work with lots of fringe people over the years.
That you don't want to bring them in. If they want to ask for a meeting, have the meeting.
Yes.
Exactly.
But if they're not asking for the meeting,
Meetings are public.
don't give them the credibility of bringing them in.
I agree.
I
agree with that.
There are three, look, they're doing psychological studies on all these groups right now, okay? You got a number of different kinds of people there. One, you got the committee. There are people there that actually believe this stuff.
Yep.
Okay, you're not gonna convince them of anything. I don't care how many facts you give them or whatever, they're out of it. And then you have the ones that are purposely causing a problem, they're out of it, because you're not gonna get to them either. So you're left with this other group. And I don't think taking the passion of that group and the reason that group exists to disrupt, basically, with the two groups that I'm talking about, that any kind of logic is going to affect their situation, and they're going to continue this because they want to escalate this as much as possible. And when I made the comment about the local officers, I certainly didn't mean every local official, but there are wackos and weirdos everywhere, even in that process. And we never elevate an issue like this. What we do is just what we're doing now. We send out a letter, go to this, do that. You got to get more political in this in terms of how you present what our position is.
But with local officials and with the press, we should be engaging, right?
You should be having a press conference on this.
Well,
This is a big issue. It's not a small issue.
I would say it is a fine line. It's a balancing act of trying to combat the information without giving them more oxygen than they deserve.
I think
And that's where I'm striving to straddle every day.
And
They don't
we have
care.
had conversations with local electeds who have contacted us
Well, let
about
them
it.
have press conference. I mean,
Absolutely,
you know,
we
get
are open
this,
to meeting.
get some
Well-
passion in it.
I got passion.
Good.
I know.
I'm not short of that.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I mean, let me ask you a question. For example, would it be worthwhile for us to meet with the Association of Counties when they have their annual meeting up here and make a presentation to
That would be-
them that, hey, you
that-
guys,
that's-
you're meeting with these people on this issue, and we want to present our side of the story before you just continue down this road?
Absolutely.
Because I think a little, you know, maybe outreach like that would be helpful too.
I wouldn't even suggest our side of the story. They don't have a side.
Well,
I would like
fair
to
enough.
present the real issue
Fair
based
enough.
on what we're doing.
Fair enough.
Jennifer, show us the money.
Yeah. Thank you. Working on that
for the record, this group has claimed that they have asked for a meeting with us. I have never seen a letter, an email. They've come to visit us to drop things off, but ne'er has there been an actual request for a meeting.
Yeah.
Just for the record.
Like it.
But yeah, the money. Okay, so, on our state grants, we do have a number of state grants that are gonna be expiring at the end of this year. All of our 3 early voting grants, our e-poll book, early voting expansion, early voting, 8 localities will all expire on January 28th. We have very small amounts of money in there, all under $1 million, in fact, all under $500,000. And then for our cybersecurity remediation grant, that will be expiring December 31st. We do have some money left in there, originally $9 million, now $3.1 million. This is specifically for remediation of different sort of security aspects of elections. So we are working with the Secure Election Center to make sure that all of those funds are going to be spent down, same with the early voting, working with the counties to make sure that no money is going to be left behind on the table. And they do have some time, even after the deadline to spend, to still submit their claims. They get 90 more days, so they do have time to submit. They just got to spend now. On our federal grants, we're continuing to administer our federal grants. We have reports due at the end of this month for our HAVA shoebox, HAVA pulse rate improvement, and our HAVA cybersecurity. So we'll have more information on that for our next meeting. And then Commissioner Kellner actually made us aware that the EAC has some new funding, the Help America Vote College Program poll worker grant and the Service Day Mini Grant. There's $1 million in total available. These are very specific in terms of poll worker recruitment and for students in college recruitment. So we did share that with the counties and invite them to apply to those and to support them in writing those applications. The Service Day Mini Grant seems like it could be something that the state may want to look into. We're just still considering there is up to $10,000 of support for grantees for the specific days of action of Poll Worker Recruitment Day and Help America Vote Day. Right now, the work that we do, our outreach on that is free, which we like, but if we can find something that we can spend that money on, whether it's Google ads or ads on Facebook, then we will certainly apply for that. The deadline to apply is not until December 18th, so we're still just mulling over whether or not we think that that funding would be useful for the state board. And that's all I have on grants, actually. Just one more thing on the TIER grant, our technology grant for supporting equipment, since that did come up earlier. We did have $35 million. We have spent that down quite a bit. We have $14.7 million left. So there is still some money on the table with that grant.
Great.
Thank you, Jen.
All right, good.
Thank you, Commissioner.
With the website, one good thing is that I see that already you've got the special election calendar up there. And I've been bugging Kristen for a week about the political calendar and finally got it today. I hope you're going to be posting the political calendar.
Everything that's going on the current website is being migrated to the new one to make sure everything's mirrored, but it'll be on the current website. If it's not already yet, then probably by end of day.
That would be great. And then there's a couple of things on the home page, and it's the home page that I'm concerned about of the current web page that I think you've got a lot of legacy stuff that stays on the home page. So, for example, you know, all the old 2023 election stuff isn't really relevant to somebody who's logging in now. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be somewhere on the website, but should it be in the upper right-hand box, which is the, you know, where your eye is first drawn to attention. And should the use of force policy be on the home page still?
It's required to be there by law.
On the home page?
I believe so, yes, specifically. I'll double check.
I don't see it on other agencies' home pages.
We could be doing something right.
That's a great response, if that's the case.
Don't check out.
If that's the case.
Point taken, and I think you're really going to like the new website. I think it's going to be a lot more appealing.
And Brendan, I do appreciate that. I think that's great. All right. So Michael Haber.
All right.
You got it.
Well, nothing nearly as exciting as PIO.
with whom we do work very closely on keeping the website up to date and will continue to do so. And so, I will just, jump to that portion. We've already talked about the website refresh, but working closely between our units and with others, the refresh does continue to go well. Data migration was already, discussed and has also gone very well. We participated in demos of the site earlier this week. And also this week we did, take part in a demo on the improvements of historical results. That was also referenced in the TIO report. We anticipate both being on track to be rolled out in January of 2020. And as a note, I did confirm with my staff during this meeting that if desired, we can certainly easily add the operation spreadsheet on voting machines to the current site, if that is the desire to do so. But that's something that should be fairly easy to do.
Yeah, well, I'm in favor of it. I don't know if anybody's opposed to it, but I think, on the voting machine page, there's a lot of old information that may not be so useful, but very useful would be the current use of voting equipment by each county. And I think I sent about 2 months ago a model of the North Carolina page, which I think was a pretty good model on how to do it.
Well, we can certainly look at that, and as I said, getting an existing spreadsheet up there obviously in an accessible format, should not be a problem at all.
Great, thank you.
All right, so what else do we have? Well, as always, ITU's been integrally involved in supporting all of the units and their operations here. A lot of what we do has already been referenced, so I won't belabor points. I will say that the online voter registration phase 2 is indeed under development. We had a discussion earlier this week on exactly which additional functionality would be added first. For the automatic voter registration project, we've been engaging very closely with the New York State Office of ITS for the development and deployment, including our infrastructure team working closely with our counterparts over there and with our partners at Microsoft in terms of developing the environment for that project. As state's expansion has continued, we've been heavily involved in the IT unit in relocating personnel between floors and different locations, moving equipment, and confirming our network status for new spaces such as the newly identified floor. And of course, as the staff has grown, our team's been kept pretty busy, supporting onboarding of new personnel and also deploying new laptops and related peripheral equipment to SBOE staff. We have also begun, in regards to the early mail voting legislation, in preparation to be on time for that should deployment be needed. We have begun creation of the request portal and the tracking site. We anticipate a very on-time and smooth rollout there. There was also reference to the fact that we are updating some of our last remaining legacy applications on our old Oracle system, including the 1-800-4-VOTE and the NVRA tracking and reporting. And those apps are being moved off so that we can retire some otherwise unneeded, unused databases. And we have been, for the PCFD agency modernization software, as had mentioned, the contract makes its way through the necessary approvals. In preparation for that, we've been pursuing some relevant technical training for IT staff in expectation of supporting that development and maintenance of the new system, and are also building out our technical team accordingly. And prior to that implementation, of course, our development team continues to enhance existing Capus FIDA systems to perform the functionality needed in the interim.
Turning to cybersecurity, the Secure Election Center had a successful election period coordinating with our federal, state, and county partners to respond to potential concerns, some of which were discussed here earlier. We conducted an initial lessons learned session and are working with partners to conduct an exercise across partners at the executive level in preparation for the 2024 election. Our Secure Election Center is also currently working with our partners at NISTEC to conduct our first cybersecurity reassessments. Those are for county boards of elections. We're finalizing the review of the initial counties and actively working with others to validate their compliance with the cybersecurity regulation. So again, they report on being in compliance with that regulation every year. This is us going out and actually validating that reporting. We are approaching the end of the State Board's mandatory annual cybersecurity awareness training for county boards and state board staff. It's a very comprehensive training covering a range of topics. State and county board staff are expected to complete it by December 31st. And we have also renewed the cybersecurity monitoring services that we provide for county boards, so that we will be providing that for the upcoming additional year as well. I do have some analytics from usage of the website for September, October, and November. Without reading off all of it, it is, of course, interesting to note that, as expected, number of users increased significantly as we got closer to the election. And in fact, it appears that the number of users visiting the website more than doubled from month upon month, from September to October, and then again to November. Popular pages were registering to vote, including the online voter registration system, absentee voting, statewide ballot proposals, and then in November, the 2023 election results. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Michael.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you does your unit support people working virtual?
Yes. Yes, we do.
How many people?
Throughout the agency, I would say that there are, I don't have exact numbers.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I will say that most staff certainly have the capability, most if not all have the capability to work virtually. There are some units that, as we have become constricted in space in particular, some units have gone to a hybrid model for people working from home part of the time and in the office part of the time. That includes the IT unit as well. I would say for our staff, almost all are doing a hybrid model in terms of being in the office some days and working from home other days, with the exception of a few folks. Personally, I like...
Does your unit get involved in it?
What's that?
Does your
My
unit get involved in this?
We have mostly full-time in-office staff.
I think everyone is.
Well,
No, but you don't interact with these other people that are doing things virtually at all.
We interact with everyone through WebExes and Teams and stuff, and whether someone's home or in the office, we're in constant communication.
Is there a thought of increasing people who do this?
I'll say that we, again, relative to, as the build-out has been happening, we have, some additional units have implemented hybrid models for some staff, where the functions of those staff allow for it.
I understand.
I think that is more a response to being constricted on space, while the build-out is happening, rather than a strong desire to do so.
I just find it interesting because in corporations that are dealing with this, the hybrid model seems to be more prevalent now and coming through. But that the space requirements and the virtual use are hand in hand. And they develop the space requirements based on the anticipation of how many people are going to be doing things virtually.
So, if I can just,
Sure.
the agency is an in-person agency because we do the work of elections, and for the most part, we need to be here in order to do that. So our space requirements to expect 100% attendance in the office in order to function. We have moved to a hybrid model in some cases, but that has been almost exclusively driven by the space constraints due to the construction. And the belief is for us to move those staff that are currently on hybrid models back to in-person once we have the necessary space to accommodate. But, you know, when we talk about,
I can hear you.
when we talk about PCFD, when we talk about compliance, somewhere on a hybrid model, you know, those staffers being in the office, being near, you know, telephones where people are going to be calling, and being able to collaborate, especially when it comes to the bipartisan natures of boards and elections, I think it's important.
You know,
Really, the only,
I take that, but that is the argument everyone makes in every organization. So all I'm saying is, I think you should constantly keep this in the back of your head. And evaluate your position on an ongoing basis, because things are changing.
we do, Commissioner, and actually, prior to the pandemic and the space constraints, we had no ability to work remote here. So
No, I
we really,
understand that.
it is, we do have an ability, and as Kathleen said, if I have to work remote one day, I can be involved in all the meetings and seamlessly work with the staff. But there is something to be said, especially as the PCSD payments, having people working together, and also the ability to do the bipartisan checks and to answer the phones, and also just the interactions we have, you know, sort of casually discussing different things that come up. But I take your point.
Yeah, my job is not to run the office. Just to ask a question. I got one other thing for both of you. Why are we still in this antiquated look on the screen? Why when someone talks, we have a camera that goes to the person who talks? So on the screen, you actually see it. Because when you're outside of here, you're looking at this, it's really tough to tell who's talking.
That's right.
And it just...
Can't we go back to the old way with the 3 cameras?
They don't do that anymore, unfortunately. They don't offer it anymore.
Don't they have a voice operator?
Well, there are, like, for example, there are other locations in this building that we've used that are not our agency locations that have different AV systems that have cameras that will track the speaker.
Yeah.
Obviously, dealing around a table with this many people, I don't know how smart that system's going to be to get to the exact person.
I'm not the techie.
Right.
We used to, but we used to have 3 cameras.
We used to have 3 cameras, and we would have somebody sitting outside the room who would actually do the cut to camera 1, cut to camera 2, based on who was speaking.
That's antiquated, too.
Sure.
But can't we, well, maybe get somebody, and this would be PIO, right, to get a staffer to be trained in this, and then buy the equipment for it, and do it in-house.
It's something we can discuss.
Well, I mean...
We're also doing this reconstruction, and we will be
No,
transferring materials, so maybe we will look at equipment that would be more...
I mean, right, and one of the things to think about also, like it was mentioned earlier in the meeting, we do have the Poll Worker Training Institute that we're standing up. There was also a bill that did not pass both houses, but that's been kind of floated for the past couple of years about training county commissioners by the state board. And so we've certainly had conversations as far as agency needs. You know, you can't just hire someone to do video work for the one day a month that we might be having commissioners meetings. So trying to figure out between graphic design or training where video or AV stuff might come into play, can we try to create a spot that will serve the purposes of the agency as a whole? Sure. So both when we're doing training, if we want to do pre-recorded training, if we want that person to be available to kind of do video stuff during the board meetings, that's something we can kind of grow towards.
Tom, remember the evolution on ballot design, when we first said, you know, we need somebody to learn about ballot design. We didn't go to hire a person to just be ballot design. We took one of your staff people and said, go to this seminar and learn about ballot design. Mm-hmm. So the thing evolves, and my interpretation of Andy's suggestion was just, is there somebody at PIO who can learn how to do video operations?
Let me just give you an example.
A secretary, you know, who might have fun having a different job responsibility.
No, I was saying just today, looking at this now, someone who is from the outside looking at us right now, that's what they see. Kathy and Ray made impassioned speeches. That would have been much better in a focus.
You redo it?
That.
Some dramatic music playing behind them and just with the American flag.
Really
It's difficult for
catching
the public
it.
to
Yeah.
see who's
And
talking.
it would be much
Yeah.
better for the person on the other side.
We can certainly explore options, whether it be through technology or through staffing.
I'm just looking at this effect. You need effect.
Yeah.
I agree, Commissioner, as Tom indicated, there is technology that we're aware of that certainly can do this, so we need to just explore it.
Brendan's gonna do it, he doesn't have enough jobs, so Brendan's just gonna do it.
I'll figure something out, we'll look into it, for sure.
We'll deal with the holograms later.
Sounds good to me.
I saw them working on it.
That would make it much easier.
You know, there is some relevance, I think, here in terms of the personal activity. Because of what you do.
Oh, no, I'm ready.
You know, you want this all over the place.
Yep, I agree.
Too much security.
Okay, so, next is, we have no old business, thank you, Michael. Good discussion. We have no old business. The first item of new business is, resolution 23-29, on the Training Institute.
Sure.
1 minute.
I can speak to that if you want.
Go ahead,
Alex.
please.
So we have some, regulations here. There was I think we alluded to a couple times already, chapter 477 of this year. It goes into effect, March of next year. So we have some regulations to build up this Train the Trainer program, which would provide the Disney Institute here at State Board to train, certified poll worker inspectors, who would then train poll workers in the counties. The regulations provide for that. Requires enrollment from at least 2 people from each county board, has some curriculum requirements, continuing education requirements, allows for sharing between the states, between the boards of these certified poll worker trainers, and provides for a timeline to implement this into.
So when you say there's 2 people from each board, that's 1 from each party? Is that the requirement?
Okay, so Commissioner Casal has moved it. Is there a second? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so it's passed unanimously. Next is, resolution 23-30,
Here we go, we're back. She gets in the house.
All right, so, resolution 23-30 to, reappoint, Thomas, you pronounce it Swires?
Yes, Swire.
As, hearing officer. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's adopted. Next is, the, determination of the Fair Campaign Code complaint submitted from Linda Hoffman, Chair of Tompkins County Democratic Committee. We were circulated this, I've read it, I don't have any problem.
I have a question, I did raise it. So, the way you're resolving this is that you've decided that kind of procedurally you can't go forward with it, and so you're dismissing it. My question is the substance of this complaint a Fair Campaign Code violation? That they're alleging people were changing their enrollment in order to vote in a primary. I guess that's why I read the allegations. There was an effort to have people change their enrollment so they could vote in a primary. Is that, I don't think that question is resolved here, is that substantively a violation, if that were true?
And it really comes down, doesn't it, to whether they're subverting the party in that process. Because obviously, the whole goal of the party is to get people to change their enrollment and join. But there is a procedure in the election law for challenging party enrollment.
Right.
She didn't follow that procedure. She came...
Yeah, I mean, there is that, but is this a violation? That's what I'm really trying to get to.
I am...
Because you don't reach that issue, and I
That's
think...
true, we don't.
Because, I mean, part of the reason I'm raising it is because the change of enrollment process has changed in the last year or two, where they moved it way back.
Yeah.
It used to be before the last general, now it's sometime in February February. So they've moved it up. It sort of implied the intent, I thought, to allow people to change their enrollment to do this. I mean, that was kind of what I thought the whole idea of the legislation was, well, if you decide in, January, you see this primary coming and you want to participate, you can change. So I'm just trying to understand, are we perceiving that as a violation?
I am not aware of a determination of the board that has found that way, especially since the law changed. So I'm not sure whether the board has formally opined on that in the form of these.
No, I don't think we have. I guess I'm asking you guys who are doing these, who is it, you and Brian? Are you guys the Fair Campaign Code guys?
Yeah, that was my question.
It doesn't go to Michael, right? It's here. So you guys apparently analyzed this and came up with a solution. It's fine, a solution, but I just want to know, is this where we are now? Are you going to come to us someday and say, well, these guys were changing their enrollments to try to get into this primary, and now that's a violation? I mean, people should know, I guess. I would like to know. Is this a violation now? And I just think in the new world where changes of enrollment are allowed later in the year, actually, right before primaries, arguably, are we going to perceive that as a violation? People should know. I guess people should know. And I thought this allegation gave us a chance to maybe opine on that. It seems to me maybe we should, because this is a change in law that does almost encourage, I would argue, this kind of activity.
Yeah, but in other states where you have open primaries and you have caucuses where people can walk in and out, it's not a problem.
No, then it's not an issue, but here...
No, but I'm saying
we have a closed primary.
Conceptually, it hasn't been a problem in those states.
But but I think this state is not an open primary.
No, we're closed primary.
If you're legally going in and changing your registration...
Right.
Who cares what the motivation is?
Well, that's the question. I mean, there's some implication in this write-up that if we could get past the procedural issues, we would find a violation under these facts. I'm not necessarily in agreement with that, by the way.
Slippery slope.
Well, I just think...
I'm not sure. I don't believe we have. In the absence of a complaint that we could reach that issue, I'd be happy to have that discussion, but I'm not, we'd have to examine whether it's, appropriate to have a determination in that regard made prior to a fact pattern coming before us.
Well, you've got a fact pattern here. You could arguably do it in, even though you have a procedural issue attached to it. But I think it's important for people to know what the rules are. That's all. I think, I don't know if I would wait for someone to do it. I just, shouldn't people know what the rules are on this topic?
I would suggest that we do have 130 years of experience with what I regard to be the standard on this, which is set forth in 16-110.
What does it say?
And it says, the Supreme Court or a justice thereof within the judicial district in a proceeding instituted by an enrollment be canceled if it appears from the proceedings before such chairman or subcommittee and other proofs that the person is not in sympathy with the principles of the party. And there's case law on this.
Who brings that action?
What?
The
party chair.
In this case, did the party chair bring that action?
Yes.
No.
She filed it.
But she didn't file that action, she filed this action.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That was my question.
This process instead of that.
She said, go to do that, it's easier than coming to...
You go to court.
Well, the difference is, though, in the court proceeding, you were just prevented from doing it. In this proceeding, you were assessed a penalty for having done it. We can't really prevent you from doing it, I don't think, as an agency, but we can penalize you for doing it,
Well, I guess my opinion, first of all, I agree with how it was drafted. I think that Kevin and Brian did a good job on it.
Kevin wrote it.
Uh,
I'm really glad the compliment came first.
But to me, it would be a fair campaign code violation if you intentionally set up a process of switching voters who were not in sympathy with the party in order to subvert the party's primary. That's the standard that I would use, but that's not before us today.
Okay.
And it's a tough standard to meet.
Mhm.
There's been
cases, though, they've met it.
That's right.
I know of cases where they've
And I
been
thought
successful.
that, back when I was law chair.
Well, I just felt with the change in law, which now allows later changes in enrollment, I think this issue may become more common, because I can just envision a fact pattern where this will be happening, and I just think it would be useful for us to have an opinion. This might be something to have an opinion on, even, to inform people of what the rules are regarding this particular kind of activity. Because again, I think the legislation was changed to encourage this. That was my sense of it. Why did you move the date way back? Well, that was to encourage people, arguably, to change enrollment to vote in a different party's primary.
Yeah,
Why else do it?
But
So are we still going to find that to be a violation? And I mean, I'm not saying one way or the other right now, but I think I would like to see some sort of analysis of that and come to some conclusion, just to get the public, so they know. And they should know what the rules are and how we do it.
you know, it's a problem similar, or I equate it with the problem of voters who register to vote in Brooklyn, to vote in primary elections, and then immediately change their residence so they can vote in Orange County in the general election. And kind of we evolved a policy on that, or they evolved a policy, right? That, you know, a voter can do that once or twice, but they can't do it every year, right? Isn't that the policy? Didn't you run into that in Rockland County?
That there was a policy that they...
People would change their...
Change that votes from Brooklyn to Rockland.
Yeah, but I don't think there was any, I think it was done legally, and there was nothing...
But hasn't Orange County and Brooklyn basically, they didn't stop that practice?
Well, Commissioner, to your point, they have available to them the mechanism that, exactly the one that you pointed to. And there have been, cases under that provision, I believe in one or both of those counties over time. But they would be held to the burden of...
But that case only changing residence, not changing party, right?
No, but I mean, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Registration, yeah.
Right, I mean,
For
but, yeah,
registration challenge after the
and you
fact.
can, and the issue there, I mean, it's a similar issue, you're right, when it's just the residence change, but it's a similar issue. You have to have a bona fide residence for voting, and the issue is that in New York, you can choose among residences that are bona fide. But Commissioner Kellner is advancing the view that at some point you simply have to choose, like the bouncing back and forth piece is problematic. And I will tell you, I don't know the precise contours of where the law sits presently on that, but it's definitely a fact pattern that is vexatious.
That, you're talking about if you vote in one place in the primary and another place in the general?
Every year.
Yeah.
Back and forth
Move
every
back
year.
and forth.
Yeah, but
As
that
opposed to
becomes pretty obvious. But if you're just registering to vote in the primary and staying there voting in the general, that's very hard to detect or even to prove that there was some...
Well, and usually there isn't. If a person has two bona fide residences and at some point or another makes the decision to switch between one that they're currently voting from to another one, as long as they meet the case law threshold for having a bona fide, legitimate, non-sham connection to the residence that they're changing to, the mere change is not a problem.
Like 36 people in one house is not correct, and isn't that legal?
If they live there.
Well, there are also people, let's say, on Long Island who might want to register on their Long Island address to vote in a March village election, but then change their party enrollment because they also have an apartment in New York City, and because they want to be able to vote in that general election in New York City. and they would just do everything back and forth every single year.
When we have received questions on this in council, we have advised people not to engage in that practice, that it is potentially fraud.
Because these complaints come in, they go right to council's office,
Yes.
but these are, there's no indication who wrote the opinions. Should we usually have these things signed when they come to the board, or should we have?
There are opinions.
It's coming out of the council.
This is a recommendation.
Yeah, then it has our signature after we vote.
But it says "we" on there, I don't know what the "we" is.
It's a royal we.
Okay, you wrote it first, okay.
No, I didn't write it. I mean, I don't disagree with this opinion. I just think
The
it's
fact pattern here was that they changed from non-enrolled to a particular party, would that change sufficiently?
yeah, that would change the analysis, certainly.
I think so.
I think so,
Because
too.
they wouldn't be changing from one party to another, because they wouldn't be eligible, it's not they wouldn't be, they're voting from one primary to another. They're not eligible to vote in a primary, they register in order to
Until after the next
participate
general.
in the primary.
All right.
All right, well, sorry, I just wanted to bring that up. All right.
All right, I think there was already a motion on this.
Yeah, so we would need a motion,
Commissioner Cassell.
It was moved and seconded.
It was, okay,
So, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So it's adopted unanimously. All right, next is the legislative packet. Now, there was one item on this, that I wanted to talk about, and, which is 2421. I get the point, Commissioner Casal actually referred to it before, that, the manual recount provision now is over inclusive. We have too many manual recounts. You may also recall that, I had drafted a proposal for the legislature that had a sliding scale trigger, which I still think is the better approach. It passed the Assembly, but in the final negotiations, the Senate insisted on the current version. Throwing out, excluding party positions from the manual recount requirements, in my view, is throwing out the baby with the bathwater, or basically saying we don't care about the accuracy of counts and party positions. The point of the hand count is that in very close contests, the hand count can change the outcome of the election. And therefore, what we should be doing is defining what is a very close contest where it's worth the effort to do a hand count. A hand count in a county committee race only takes 5 minutes.
I respectfully disagree
Well,
with the time
you've
it's analysis of that, because I've done a couple of hundred of them.
Yeah.
Going through multiple ballot bins, one EV's worth of ballots between election day
Oh,
machines.
because of the bin.
Yeah, it's not a 5-minute
All
process,
right.
it's a couple of days.
Point well taken, Ray, but, in my proposal, you would have only had a hand count in a typical county committee election where there are 100 votes, if they were within 2 votes of each other. Because
So you're talking about number of votes as opposed to percentage. Right now, the threshold's a percentage, right?
well, it's both. If it's less than 20 votes, it basically requires a hand count for every, county committee contest, essentially.
Yes. I'm unfamiliar with the proposal, so I apologize. I will say that in the model which the law came off of was a procedure that existed already in the city of New York, which has existed prior to the legislation being enacted.
Well,
and the city model had exempted delegates from hand counts. And I'm very familiar with the reason why, is that they were originally in the proposal, and then the hand count for the delegate race I think it was the judicial delegate race out of Manhattan for the Democratic Party, took so long, but by the time they had finished the hand count, the convention was already over.
Right.
The purpose of it was that, party positions tend to include delegate races, and obviously we may have some primaries for that coming up with the presidential primary, and it includes county committee, which represent, you know,
But
85 to 90% of.
But it also includes state committee and district leaders and, you know, in Manhattan, well, in Brooklyn too now, when they have district leader contests, you know, you can be spending $100,000 on the primary, and, to say that you don't get a hand count for that contest, that's my concern.
Okay.
That this bill, that this is overbroad. Do we need to have a hand count in every county committee contest? Absolutely not. And by the way, you know, I had a bitter argument with Senator Gianaris over changing it from my formula to his, but,
Move on. Do you want to pull it?
yes, and then redress it, or put it back in the way I did it, or tweak mine. But you know, what I really wanted was to get that report done so that we could go back and say that the current statutory formula, you know, with real evidence is way over-inclusive.
Yeah.
And the underlying basis for this is that roughly 1 out of every 750 ballots is marked in a way that the machine reads it differently than what the law requires. And it's usually, almost always the fault of the voter that happens, but it's about 1 out of every 750. So if you have a contest, you know, with 1 million vote, well, all right, my point is that if there are only 100 votes, you're only you shouldn't be hand counting.
Well, the key is what you said before, the report. Let's look at the report.
All right, I'm sorry.
Give them the, we'll go from there.
All right, so my motion is to, amend the list by taking 2421 out of it.
Okay.
So, is there a second to that? Second.
I'm just gonna make 2 comments if I could.
Go ahead.
One is, I don't like hand counts, so anything that eliminates hand counts, I'm all in favor. Number 2, I think there's too many on here, if you want my opinion. Just, you know, sending over 26 proposals to the legislature is not realistic. We're not gonna get 26 bills passed this year. I just wondered if it isn't better if we picked out 3 or 4 that we really, really want, that are priorities of ours, and put those somewhere separate that says, you know, these are the ones we really want because they're really important for the following reason, and make it a more realistic list that we might actually accomplish something. I just think you send this over, it's, I don't know, it's a lot of bills, and I just don't think we're gonna get that kind of attention over there. So, those are my suggestions, but I'm not hardcore on it.
These go to the speaker and the leader as a departmental bills, as opposed to going to the governor first?
Yes, we do our own bills directly to the legislature. Yeah, we don't go through the governor's office, right? Right.
This 2408, about the schools more accessible, not scheduling regular instruction. Does that mean they close, or does that mean that the kids are in there not getting regular instruction?
It's non-instruction, the students are not there. So they could be doing.
Staff development.
They could be doing staff development, they could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Well, I'm willing to go along with the list with removing 2421.
Okay.
But, your point is well taken.
yeah, it's just an idea that maybe the staff could look at as far as priorities, prioritizing.
Put it on order or something.
Yeah, something.
The danger is when you order it, you say, these I absolutely need.
I know.
And then when they say, okay.
I know, but the problem here is you have 27 or 20.
You're right on that, sir.
Okay.
But you know, what they also do is they pick and choose on the technical ones.
I know.
Well, of course, you've given me that.
I know.
All right. So we're gonna vote. Those in favor of the proposals with the one omission, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So that's adopted. Now, Brian, do we really need this executive session?
It could wait till January, I think, in my opinion. You wanna go then?
Well,
Wait, here, yeah.
We're here.
Haven't set a date.
Here, we can put
All right, there's a motion to go into executive session for litigation matters. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's adopted.
Take a break, take a break.
Well, you can turn the tape off. We're not gonna be taking any more official action today.
Yeah, we won't come back in open session.
Should I end it, or?